Welcome to the JD Bunkis podcast. Baseball is on fire. It's not just in this city. It feels like, I don't want to say maybe the only sport, because soccer is always just huge, and so is the NFL. So it just doesn't feel to me like there's any type of drop-off or real consternation about either of those sports. I do think football could get there if they continue to try and add games. But overall, we just came off of an unbelievable NFL season. Basketball, hockey, I feel like a lot of the conversations around the sport right now are what needs to change and what needs to be better, right? The NBA is looking at expansion this week. The NBA is looking at tweaking their draft lottery rules. The NBA is trying to figure out ways to make you more engaged in the regular season. The NHL doesn't seem at all interested in these conversations, by the way. Like, they don't look at the tweaks. They're not looking at things and evaluating, hey, our fans are complaining about the playoff format, or we're adding 84 games. We're making it 84 games. We're adding a couple in a regular season that's already feeling a little less important. Yeah, we don't care. We don't care what the fans have to say about the product. We are just humming along. We are cruising along. We are saying full steam ahead. But baseball has been making tweaks that have worked. They've got an unbelievable deep, deep pool of interesting, compelling, fascinating, whatever you want to say, stars in the sport right now. A bunch of teams that matter. There's, I guess, the one conversation being about the LA Dodgers, and it's definitely a polarizing topic in terms of what should happen with the salary cap moving forward. But yesterday, I've been doing a lot of Debbie Downer shows, right? Like, I've been doing a lot of the Leafs are so bad, and I feel so bad about the Leafs shows. Oh, what are the Raptors even? Boo-hoo. But I got no complaints about baseball right now. And I'll say this, I felt so optimistic watching that game yesterday because, one, it was just so sweet to see the Americans lose and lose in that fashion. Like, Bryce Harper hits that 2-run home run, and I think the Venezuelans are dead. Dead. There's no way that they were going to be able to suffer the emotional gut punch of that moment, and then, boom, they get it right back. Eugenio Suarez, one of the most clutch hits I've seen in a very long time. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Forget the hit in the World Series to tie it. I don't acknowledge that hit. I'm with Aaron Judge. This tournament is bigger than the World Series until the Blue Jays are back in one. But I felt this overwhelming sense of optimism about the future of this sport in terms of the pending lockout. Because that's the only thing you can dread right now, right? As a baseball fan, it's like, we're doing it. We're doing the damn thing. Baseball is humming. Everything feels perfect. And I've mentioned my reservations about ABS, and I'm worried about spirit of the game with the robots. I am. I hate the human error, though. And then you see, the Dominican Republic game and the way that they lose, and you go, yeah, this is a necessary evil. Sorry, umpire's too bad. And I actually thought that it was a travesty that yesterday's umpire was an American and that every single borderline call was going to the United States against Venezuela, that the strike zone sure seemed a little expanded when the Venezuelans were at the dish. It wasn't really the case when the Americans were. Just saying, maybe get one umpire from a different country for that game. Just my thoughts on the matter. If you're going to have one guy behind home plate, just food for thought. But this pending lockout and this idea that the owners are going to go to the wall for the salary cap, I got to think, you guys can't mess with the golden goose here. Do not mess with the golden goose. You've got an amazing thing going. Nobody's complaining about your sport. Everybody's into it. World Series numbers are up. World Baseball Classic really moved the needle. That's the first World Baseball Classic I've seen where the conversations were this deep around it. And it wasn't just because the Jays were in the World Series here. The numbers are the numbers, brother. Was it men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie? Baseball is hot. And if you are that ownership group, are you really going to choose now to make this fight? Are you really going to do this? We're finally, after over a decade of complaining, our next guest podcast is named after something that was a common refrain amongst sports fans. I did many segments when I first started doing sports radio, when I first started doing podcasts about the average age of baseball fans and what the future was going to be and blah, 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 blah. Was it going to be able to keep our attention? All these different complaints we had about the sport. And now I see it and it's healthier than ever. And I'm going to refuse to get down in the dumps and think that they're actually going to miss games. I cannot believe that rich people could be so stupid. Like people that have made billions of dollars, that have gotten that wealthy, could be so stupid as to have no idea as to what's going on the ground with this sport, how much people are invested, how much they care, how much the sport's on the rise, and how they absolutely cannot do anything to impact that. Jared Carrabis is, again, of baseball is dead, which now is just the most ironic, stupid thing that you could possibly say to somebody because it is so hot, bro. Baseball is thriving. How are you feeling about what I just said about lockout potential? Because I do want to get in this game. I do want to get in this tournament, but that is my prevailing sentiment in all this, man, is like, I don't want to miss baseball games. I don't think any baseball fan does. And I'm just starting to believe a little bit more because conversations I'm having with baseball people are all kind of starting to edge towards the same thing, which is like, there's just no way they can screw this up.
This is the most confident and positive conversation that I think I've heard about the subject. But then again, I kind of live in my own little bubble here where, it's sometimes like we'll bring players on for interviews. And then when we cut the cameras, we're like, so what are you thinking for the lockout? And a lot of times they're like, we're best case scenario, we're missing half the season. Worst case scenario, it's the whole season. So I've been super down about any lockout conversations, but listening to you talk about it, yeah, like everything that you said is completely valid. You're 100% correct. They can't be that dumb to, even if they miss a month, because I remember back in 2021, that was coming off of 2020. So you had the 60 game season. Then there was all the lockout stuff going into that. Those crowds in 2021, they were electric. They were fiery and passionate because you were coming out of the whole COVID isolation thing. I don't think the sport is dumb enough. I mean, but again, I go back to the point that baseball is the one sport, and I tweeted about this the other day. It's the one sport that if they're good at anything, it's not being able to get out of their own way. They create a lot of their own problems, and if they were to actually miss the entire season, I couldn't blame any fan out there that would be like, you know what, or a young fan rather. If I'm in high school right now and I'm like, yeah, I like baseball, but I have all these other options. If there was a year-long strike, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm going to pick up lacrosse and never look back. Like, why not?
Dude, so in Canada right now, baseball registration numbers are so high across the board that it's too late to get your kid into Little League now. Like, if you're trying to do it and it's March 18th and you want to go sign up, it ain't happening, brother. You're throwing catch with your kid in the backyard because the sport is on fire. And the thing that I like, again, if I'm just a capitalist and I'm thinking about this and I'm just like looking at this purely without, hey, the things I care about, like kids being active and kids finding a purpose and kids finding camaraderie through sport and finding a passion that can last for a lifetime. I'm thinking like, hey, these registrations are up. You know what that means? We're going to have fans of our sport for life. The more we're doing this, the more people are going to be interested in our games, the more dollars we're going to be able to get against this product. The second you do a lockout, the second you tell fans we're denying this product to you for an entirety of a summer, you are going to spoil all of the equity that you have built over these past couple of years. And you know what we're going to head towards? More quotes like, remember the Cubs owner during that lockout? Where he's like, we're barely getting any money together. And then all of a sudden, too, you got players where it was, sorry to friend of the program and friend of the station, Kevin Pillar, but where he's like, we got to feed our families. And you're like, what's your career earnings compared to like the families out here coming out of COVID layoffs that are genuinely trying to feed their families? It's so ugly for both sides. All you're going to do is spoil people. And by the time you come back, you know it. You know you're going to get the haters. You know you're going to get the fringe people that start talking down on the product, who don't want to invest in the product because they feel like anytime they do, you can just kick them in the teeth with something like this. Also, I have no faith that if they come out of a lockout, that it's going to be a better product, that it's going to be like, wow, you know what? It was all worth it because we got X, Y, and Z. And so to me, it's like there actually is so much money coming across this. The ratings are so bananas for all of this. You've got youth registrations up across the board. You've got a multitude of countries where we just got to look at it that are dying for baseball, where baseball is growing and thriving, that at some point, there have to be some people that are in these owners' ears going like, hey, This is what's happening at the ground level. We know you want the salary cap. We know you guys are greedy Gusses. We know you're so greedy and you want every bottom dollar. But maybe let's kick this down the line, because who knows? Maybe 4 or 5 years from now, baseball isn't in this place, and that's the time we decide to go to the wall over a salary cap. Because really, that's what this is all coming down to.
Well, there's two things that you just said. Number one, like, they kicked the can down the road the last time.
Yeah.
Like, this is the can being kicked down the road, because they were like, we just lost 102 games. So like, we can't afford a lockout. So we're going to kick the can down the road here. Like, we don't want to, like, and I'm not saying that they won't do it again, because I think it would be wise to do it again. But the other thing that you said that, stands out to me is, I wish I could go into the future and come back with the information of, you guys couldn't agree on anything. All you did was miss games.
Yep.
Like, this whole, like, ownership, they want a salary cap and the players want a salary floor and this and that. Like, these two sides will never agree on that. Like, the players will never agree to a salary cap. So I wish I could go into October and come back into March with the information of, hey guys, just letting you know that you guys debated about this and argued about this for 7 months, didn't come to a conclusion, kicked it down the next 4 years to the next CBA, and we missed the entire season worth of baseball. Because I think that that's where this thing is heading. Like, if that's the major, like, of course there are other issues that will come up as part of this. I think part of, like, the rev sharing stuff, and I think that the broadcasting rights all going internally, I think that they want to do that. Like, there's other stuff that you can figure out, but if the main hang up is over a salary cap and a salary floor, forget about it. Like, this sport, it's not going to happen, and the fans shouldn't have to suffer because of it.
Yeah, the only reason that I feel like they're going to continuously push for that is and I'm sure you've had the same conversations with insiders around the game or guys around the game. There really does seem to be a growing sentiment that, because there is such a large group of the haves and the have-nots, and a lot of younger players in the league who are now entering earlier, who don't have the same sense of history, right? Like, they don't have the same ties throughout Major League Baseball's union, that the offerings of the salary cap are so much more appealing to the younger guys who want to get paid earlier, to the people in the league that don't have any money, that what I think they're going to do from a strategy standpoint is be like, hey, if you don't want the salary cap, the lack of it is really only for one small select group of players, and they're screwing over the rest of you guys. And if they can actually sow that discontent, that's where I get worried. That's why, like, what I really want to hear is, like, I don't care if Bryce Harper is getting in the face of Rob Manfred, right? It's like, of course, Bryce Harper doesn't want to have a salary cap. What I want to hear more of is the players who are, like, still, like, the Nathan Lucases of the world, be like, we're never going to agree to a salary cap. Once I start hearing that from those kind of guys, then I'm like, okay, owners, you're right. Get in the Carrabis time machine, because it ain't happening.
Right. And it's not a salary cap. It is salary suppression. That's all it is.
Of course.
I mean, because the league wants to get up on their pedestal and talk about how the viewership is going up, and look at our revenues going up year over year. And it's like, all right, cool. So the league is generating billions of dollars, but you want to decrease the earning ability of the players so that the owners can be even more profitable. It's like, and I think, when we look at the difference between billions and millions, we've all seen, like, it's like, I think, like, a million seconds is 11 days and a billion seconds is 31 years. The players are millionaires. Yes. Like, I understand no one is crying for a millionaire being able to support their family, but the billionaire owners are the ones that look a little bit more foolish, talking about, oh, we need to make more money. It's, you are multi-billionaires. Like, you're good. Like, that you don't need a bigger slice of the pie. That should be going to the players that make the game great, because, to your point earlier, like, the game's honestly never been in a more exciting position in terms of, because, so, a perfect example, the last 3 or 4 years, I've done the MLB draft combine in Arizona, and they send a ton of the either first round guys, like late first round, a lot of second round guys, and I'll interview them all. And as I'm doing my research on all of them, it's like, they are all freak athletes. They're like, yeah, so like I was like a star quarterback, but I'm also like the number one starting pitcher, but I'm also the center fielder. It's like before, it's like, yeah, like, all right, so there's this kind of husky looking first baseman
Yeah.
slugger. He hits a lot of home runs. He's a little slow. He can't throw well, but he's projected to go either first or second in the draft. Now it's like you've got this global athlete that could play any position at any sport. It's like the game has never been in a better spot in terms of the athletes that they're bringing in, and that's becoming the new brand of baseball, which is super exciting. So yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. I I think the stance is they can't afford to lock out. It would be so unfortunate to waste this any amount of time in this era of the game. But if there's any sport that's dumb enough to do it, it is our sport.
Yeah, that's disheartening because that actually rings true to me when you say that. Also, what I would say too is it is so infuriating when people are like, "Yeah, we need the salary cap or we need this thing," because we were sold with salary caps as hockey fans and now as basketball fans, right? That part of the reason that you needed salary suppression was that we were going to pass the savings along to the consumer. Oh, you know who the salary cap's not for us billionaires. It's for you poor Joes and schmoes that want to come down to the ballpark and enjoy the games. And how's that worked out for everybody? Because last time I checked, as someone who goes to hockey games and goes to basketball games, you still got to pay for one beer the price of what it costs you to get basically a six-pack in what for us is called the LCBO or the beer store. The ticket prices year over year, it doesn't matter how the teams are going, they're like, yeah, this section's up 20%. You're like, 20%? Have you seen what inflation is already for everybody? You're going to outpace that? Are you out of your minds? Like, this is purely a play for those guys to get a bigger piece of the pie. This will only hurt the consumer. This will only hurt the players. This will only hurt the product. Like, it's a zero-win situation for everybody. And this is what drives me crazy, the craziest about the baseball ownership group when it comes to this kind of stuff, or any ownership group, is like, I don't understand why there isn't more of an impetus, like from a commissioner who I know works for the league, or from a league just in general, to have more people who are like stewards of the game, who are thinking about this thing as a long-term product and as a community asset, and not just as, hey, like this is such a money-making tool. Because if you want to sell your franchise tomorrow, buddy, do it. It's so valuable. You want to make money, you're going to cash out for more than you ever dreamed you could possibly cash out on. Like right now, the NBA is going to do expansion, and some people are projecting each expansion franchise is going to go over $10 billion. Like Dr. Evil money. It's outrageous, buddy. So to me, it's like, if you can't get on page with this, if you can't be starting to think about, like, there's got to be some sort of a panel in that group that's like, hey, the health of the long-term product. Hey, the health of the community. Hey, the stewardship of baseball element of this. And not just a group of accountants that are sitting there and being like, look at what we could make on this if we ended up with a salary cap.
Yeah, it's either accountants or they're lawyers
Yeah.
is their background, you know, like
For now,
they're
lawyers, AI, like TikTok.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like you've got a lot of people, a lot of smart people on the side of Major League Baseball and the ownership group, but if anyone is matching the energy that Bryce Harper had, and you know that reported story where he got in Rob Manfred's face in the middle of the Phillies clubhouse, if that's kind of the sentiment that's being spread amongst the player side, it's going to get ugly. We're going to lose games. And at the end of it all, I don't think that there's a resolution on either side. So just everybody loses. Like, can we at least come to some sort of solution here where somebody wins? And I hope that somebody is the fans of Major League Baseball that don't have to lose games. Well, it's just not necessary.
It also just feels too like that this decision is being pushed further and further down the line, and they're not actually using this time to negotiate in good faith. And so whenever this ends up coming to pass, it's going to be in the 11th hour rather than trying to settle people down with things like, hey, you know what, we've had some productive negotiations, or hey, there's a report that some owners are feeling a little bit more wiggle room on this product, that they're not as convinced as a core that this is the way to operate things. There is some dissent within the group, like anything. Give me some. All right, World Baseball Classic stuff. Can you be the Yankees captain if you think that the World Baseball Classic means more than a World Series? No.
It was a tough quote.
It's a horrible quote. And Jeter buried him, man.
He did. He did. Yeah, Jeter. Well, so Jeter also said, the people that feel like the WBC is bigger than the World Series have never been to a World Series. And it's like, well,
He
Judge has
has.
been to one.
I
I
know.
think Kike had a similar quote, and he's won a few of them.
Mhm.
I think what you kind of like, so my former boss, Dave Portnoy, had a tweet about it.
Mhm.
And I agree. He's like, I'm gonna, it's I wanted the USA to win. It obviously meant more to Venezuela, and I'm gonna go to sleep tonight. Like it's not gonna bother me that the USA lost. And he said I wouldn't trade 100 USA WBC titles for one Red Sox World Series. That's how I feel. I feel like
Mhm.
that is the sentiment amongst American baseball fans. Is that like, yeah, like we have MLB teams, so like, yeah, like it would be cool to see Team USA win, and that would be a great story and all. But then the next day we would kind of just move on with our lives. And next week is opening day, and now we're ready for MLB season.
Mhm.
Whereas a country like Venezuela, for everything that they've been through, and like perfect example, Eduardo Rodriguez, who started the game for Venezuela last night. He won a World Series with the Boston Red Sox.
Mhm.
He pitched in that World Series against the Dodgers. And after they won, it was just like, woo. And last night, the guy is in tears.
Yeah.
Like half the roster after Venezuela won was in tears. And I was saying, like, I think if USA won, there would be a lot of like, let's go and all that. Like, no one's crying. I don't think anyone is in tears when the United States wins that World Baseball Classic. So yeah, it means more to certain countries, and that's okay
I
because
agree.
there's an explanation. It's not that like, obviously American baseball fans, they care a lot about baseball, but it's because they care about their teams,
Yeah.
their actual MLB teams. There's no MLB team in Venezuela.
Yes.
So yeah, like these Venezuelan baseball fans, like those players are going to be gods to them forever now because they were the team that got it done in the World Baseball Classic. Whereas if Team USA won last night, it's like, they return to camp with like a round of applause
Mhm.
from like Paul Skeens gets a round of applause from the autograph seekers at Pirates camp. Like that's it. Like that's really it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. And I think it's great that it means more to some countries. And it's, again, the thing that you just pointed out, which is, hey, does your country have a professional baseball team? If you check the box, no, then it's likely that the World Baseball Classic means more to you than a World Series title. But yeah, there's nobody in Canada, I don't think, outside of like Ernie Witt, who would care more about a World Baseball Classic championship for Canada than a Blue Jays World Series for Canada. Like if they were to go on and win that thing, it would have been huge because baseball's having a moment. But if I like inverted it, if it was like the Blue Jays thing never happened, but Canada won the World Baseball Classic, it's not going to have the resonance across the country that the Blue Jays just did. Like not even close. It'd be a fraction of it. It would be a big story, but it wouldn't be like, wow, this is a defining moment for Canada as a nation that they won the World Baseball Classic the way that it is like, say, with hockey, which is like our national identity sport. And I think that's okay. And that's why I thought Aaron Judge's quote was a little lame, that he was like trying to jump on the bandwagon of other guys in other countries and be like, yeah, it's as big for us too. It's just as big for me, Aaron Judge, as a World Series would be. And you're like, if you're a Yankees fan and I heard that, I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, do not say that to me. I don't want to hear that. I've been defending you for a decade when it comes to big games, and here you are telling us that the biggest game you've ever played in is this World Baseball Classic final. Like, please shut up about that. What I will say, though, is that even though for Canada and the United States, this tournament is not the biggest thing, right? It's not bigger than a World Series for your local team. This one hit different. And I don't know if you felt that way too, but I thought that there were more conversations about this World Baseball Classic, more visibility for this World Baseball Classic. And I don't really know what to attribute that to other than like maybe baseball is growing in popularity. But do you think there was something outside of that that made this one stick out a little bit more?
I feel like it's probably the most star participation that we've
Yeah.
gotten, and it wasn't like you didn't have to do much convincing. Like I feel like Aaron Judge himself described it as the last time that this thing was being played, that I was in my free agency and I hadn't
Yeah.
signed back with the Yankees yet. So if I did sign with the Giants, I didn't want to, be with Team USA when I should be in camp with a new team introducing myself, especially if they're paying me a ton of money. So I think like this one definitely led the way in terms of star power. And I think that had a big factor to it. I also hate to say it. I feel like that there's like a political element to it because for me, I'm a Red Sox fan. I
Mhm.
grew up in Boston and I love stoic, not even stoic. I love either animated or just like iconic home run poses and moments. So like I grew up with Manny and Poppy. Like I love the guys that they hit long home runs, they hit a lot of home runs and when they hit them they it's so satisfying to watch the finish. So therefore, I enjoy watching the Dominican brand of baseball.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have been a Dominican baseball fan since childhood, and here I am watching Team Dominican Republic do that in this tournament. Like you've got Fernando Tatis Jr., you've got Vladdy, you've got
Mhm.
Ketel Marte, Juan Soto. Like these guys are just hitting mammoth home runs. O'Neal Cruz, and that's the brand of baseball that I like the most.
Mhm.
So I'm out here rooting for the Dominican Republic and then getting crucified, eviscerated on the internet, being like, you're anti-American. If you
Mhm.
love the Dominicans so much, just move there. Like there is so much, I guess, like
It's more
pride for
tension.
country.
Yeah.
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 Like that there was a lot of that going on. And I'm like, I'm I'm a Red Sox fan just watching competitive baseball passing the time until MLB season starts. Like this is not for me at least, like it wasn't
Live or die.
Team USA or
Yeah.
die. Like I like it wasn't some rah-rah thing with me. I just wanted to watch fun, exciting baseball. And I know that the World Baseball Classic, now in 20 years later, they came out in '06 and now we're in 2026. I think we've just kind of gotten to a point where it means something to the players.
Mhm.
Whereas when it first came out, it's like, I think the first year it was like, this is cool seeing players represent their countries. Then in like by like the third one, people were like, we've seen it in, if not everyone participates, it's not as cool as it could be. But now we're at the point where all the stars are representing their countries, and because it's been around long enough, players care more. If players care more, why shouldn't the fans care more?
That's it. That's it. So to me, all those things you said are bang on. They're all correct. But the main prevailing sentiment for me was seeing how much the players cared. Like if you watch the Dominican Republic games or you watch the Venezuela games and the way that they were celebrating, the way that they were playing for one another, the way that they were communicating with one another, the passion that they played with, it's impossible for you as a viewer to not be like, okay, I kind of care about this. There's absolutely no way if you have a heartbeat and you just casually stumbled upon last night's game and you watched the way Venezuelans were reacting in the crowd and on the field when they were winning that baseball game, when they were closing it out after Suarez hits the home run after he hits the double, and then when they're actually closing out the game, that you wouldn't feel something, that you wouldn't be like, oh my God, look at this thing. Like, look at how happy these guys are. You're right. They have player buy-in in a different way. Even for Team Canada this time around, like Canada never got players to go to this thing. And this time around, people were bitching about two relievers that don't have contracts, right? Like the number one guys that are absolutely not going to go to this tournament, Cade Smith and Matt Brash, who I think combined are making like $2 million next season. Like they were mad that those two guys didn't go represent the country. Everybody else did. You have player buy-in in a completely different way. And so to me, there has to be a realization, though, from, again, Major League Baseball and from the sport, hey, we need more international events. Hey, like we need to make sure that this World Baseball Classic remains consistent and that we grow it out. Because I don't know what your feelings are on the Olympics. Maybe we can jump to that. But I have 3 fixes for the World Baseball Classic that I think need to happen that are going to make it feel like a little bit more of a genuine tournament. But do you think, like before we get to that, do you think that this success is going to make it more of a no-brainer for owners to say, hey, I know it's not the highest docket on the new CBA, but we should really want to be at the Olympics in 2028 to showcase our sport and keep this momentum rolling?
Yes. I also I hated when Harper said that, well, it's not the Olympics.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
like, dude, you're in it right now.
Yeah.
Like, why are you're playing in this tournament right now? Like, don't put it down. I love Bryce, by the way, but it's just MLB owns the World Baseball Classic,
Yep.
so I feel like that's the one that they're going to get behind. But so we interviewed Bryce back in 2020 when the world had shut down, and he was talking about the Olympics back then. It wasn't I want to play in the WBC. Like, so he's wanted to represent the US in the Olympics for quite some time.
Mhm.
I'm sure other guys feel the same, but I'm curious to see how the quality of baseball compares in Olympic baseball versus the WBC. Like, I just feel like the product, because it has MLB backing, and you have, I would imagine more MLB stars agreeing to play WBC because of the timing.
And more
Like, I
teams.
don't know that guys are going to want to go represent their countries in the middle of a baseball season versus I'd rather do this than be at spring training. Like, they almost look at it as like I get to go to gym class instead of being math class kind of
Yeah.
situation. Yeah, I would need to see how what the vision is for it. But as far as it can't be bad for the sport, like, even if it doesn't have the same draw for MLB stars, even if there's not the same participation level, just getting some star participation in the Olympics for baseball is a positive. I really don't know how it can be a negative. Yeah.
So I don't think it can be a negative, but what I would say is, to me, if I'm Major League Baseball, I am focusing more on making the WC the big tournament and not sowing that sentiment that Bryce Harper put out there of like it's not Olympic gold. Because the thing that people seem to be losing in the whole baseball Olympics conversation is like, yeah, I guess it's a little palatable when the games are in Los Angeles, but what happens if the games are in, Korea? What's
Yeah.
happening then in terms of you interrupting your season and sending the sport over there and guys playing in a time zone that nobody actually ends up seeing the games in? Like, I don't think that there's a long-term future because of the schedule impact for baseball to be interrupting their season year over year over year, to be sending some players and having the awkward conversations that teams are going to have in the middle of a year when they know more information about their guys and having to make that decision of like, hey, are we a playoff team? Are we out of the playoff mix? Like, what are we doing here in terms of allowing our arms? What are we doing here in terms of allowing our injury-prone center fielder who is just coming off of an IL stint? Like, it's far more complicated than the World Baseball Classic. And the fact that we just got this much participation at this event, as you pointed out, to me is an indicator of like, make this one the legit one. And so here's my 3 fixes that you need to have. Number 1, we need more restrictions on what country you're actually from for you to represent the team. Because listen, Italy was fine and it was kind of a fun story, but I was genuinely sweating out that Venezuela game because I went, the final cannot be America A versus America B, period. Like, that's a horrible look for this tournament. If, there was as many guys born in Venezuela on the Italian World Baseball Classic roster as there were guys born in Italy. There were only 3 dudes born in Italy on that entire team. There wasn't one bat that was born in Italy. Every single guy was from the United States, except for one. It was a Venezuelan catcher. I just think, like, if you want to have this thing be a little bit more legitimate, you should probably have some restriction on the amount of players you can have who are not a little bit more nationalized to that country. You agree or no?
So I don't disagree, but at the same time, it's like, do you want more stars or do you want fairness? Because like, there's guys that, so like Jared Duran, from the Red Sox, he's from California, but he was on Team Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
His dad was born in Mexico, so therefore he qualifies for Team Mexico. It's like, would I rather see Jared Duran in the WBC, or would I rather see him just kind of like sitting around at spring training? I would rather see him in the WBC. And I think when he first played in the tournament in 2023, he wasn't an established name yet in Major League Baseball. So he's looking at it as, I can be rubbing elbows with, Randy Arozarena. Like, what can I learn from him that I can't learn back at camp? Like, I'm going to be with my Red Sox teammates all year. What can I learn if I'm in the dugout with some other guys that have been in the league for a while? And I'm not good enough, or at least at the time, I'm not an established enough name to play for Team USA. So I'm going to play for Team Mexico. Vinny Pasquantino, same thing, where it's like, I think, if Bryce Harper is the first baseman, you've got Paul Goldschmidt with his MVP, and I'm Vinny Pasquantino, and I want to play competitive baseball in spring training, then it's like, all right, well, I can either qualify for Team Italy or not get the first base position with Team USA because the star power is too great there. Like, I still want to participate in the tournament, but I'm not Bryce Harper, so I'm going to play for Team Italy.
Guess what? Too bad. That's part of sports. You either make the team or you don't. Like, it is that way. And I get what you're saying about the stars, but also I'm not saying all those guys got to be out. And I actually feel like if you have a parent that was born in that country, that's close enough. To me, it seemed like there were a lot of the Italian guys that were like, buddy, we're generations removed here. We're not talking about our dad being from the old country. We're talking like a great-grandfather he stopped by a port there one time back in the day, and these guys are on Team Italy. It just felt like a bit of a stretch to have your entire batting order not have one guy from Italy. I'm saying, fine, have it be that way, because I don't want to lose everybody. I don't want to lose every Duran, every, Randy Arozarena, every single guy off that Italy roster. And in fact, Canada benefited from this too, right? We had Freddie Freeman at one. Freddie Freeman's an American through and through. He has a Canadian mom. I loved having Freddie Freeman wear Canada, and I think it was cool for him to be able to honor his mother that way. Like, it was a cool story. But if our whole team was Freddie Freeman's, I'd be looking at it going like, I don't know how much of a Canadian moment this is. And so to me, it's like you got to have at least a limit on what it's the parent who was from there or the grandparent who was from there. Have it be like 7 guys.
If you limit it too much, though, so like when you look at the entire field from the start of the tournament, you could probably narrow it down to there's 8-ish maybe teams that could win this thing, and then you've got like whatever it is, like 10 plus teams where it's like, well, these guys got no choice, so like we just gotta no chance. I mean, I just get to the point in the tournament where we only have these 8 teams that have a shot to win, and then if we do it the way that you're saying, we're probably gonna get down to like 4. You have like a tournament of 20 countries, and you've got realistically 4 teams that could win the whole thing,
I'm good
or
with
something like that. I'm just because at that point, I don't know. I'm not saying that I want parity, because at the end of the day, you're gonna have your core baseball countries. Like, you're gonna have the DR, you're gonna have Venezuela, you're gonna have Japan, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Like, there's going to be those core baseball countries. But I think this was the first tournament where anyone looked at Italy as anything other than like a gimmick. They're like, oh, like Italy actually has good. Yes, it was, but they were also a good team. Before it was like they're leaning into Italian stereotypes, whereas like they're leaning into Italian stereotypes, but they can also win this tournament potentially.
I need to see the raw data from Italy that there was an explosion of baseball love to justify it. I'm just saying, like, again, I agree with star talent, but there's got to be a point of demarcation where we say you can't have the whole team be guys like this. You can't have an entire team of ringers, because then, like, to this point, you could open up a scenario where if this became so popular, they're like, hey, you know what? Germany wants to be involved. And all these guys decided to play for Germany, but they're actually all from the Dominican Republic. They were the guys that didn't make the Dominican team. And I'm like, I don't really want that either. I'm fine with it being the core 4. And maybe part of me is because I'm a hockey fan. Like, we just had the 4 nations in hockey. Nobody complains that it's Sweden, it's Canada, it's the United States, it's Finland, and then Russia, who's not been able to participate. But hockey traditionally is like, we got 5 countries who could realistically win. Everybody else is the longest of long shots and can possibly do it. But that makes it even more fun if your country's able to overcome those odds and do those things and grow that sport. And I think it only grows more enthusiasm, again, if you can look at guys and be like, hey, that actually does represent me, rather than the Italian dudes who literally, I want to know how many of them could say like 20 words in Italian. How many of them had even been to Italy before? Like, give me the list of guys on that team where it was like, we went there on vacation once. I'd be like, okay, decent, fine. But it sure didn't really seem that way. Fix number 2. No more adding players in the middle of the tournament. Like the USA adding Jeff Hoffman and Trevor Rogers. It's like, yeah, fine. I liked it as a Blue Jays fan, getting an extended look at Rogers, and he was great in the 2 outings that he had. I think you got to have restrictions on that movie. That felt stacking the deck to me stuff. I don't like it. I don't want that. If it's an injury replacement, already have your guys that are there, already traveling with the team, that are the injury replacement. I don't want to have guys coming from spring training in the middle of the tournament stacking the deck. I think that rule's got to go immediately.
I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that one we're in on. Last thing.
We're in on that.
No more pitch limits. Just do it by the honor system. I just don't like feeling it during the game. It makes it feel a little Mickey Mouse to me. Like all these baseball teams and all these managers and all these players, they're on the same page with one another in the first place. I just don't think we need to have it where, like, you're sitting there watching the pitch count and going, oh, no, this guy's at 49, the mid-at-bat switch. Like, I think that's got to go. Honor system.
So, yes, like it does, like having it put in place it makes it feel very like Little League World Series.
Yeah, it does.
Where there's like a pitch count and it's like, yeah, you have your training wheels on and this and that. So like, I agree, but I think that they should just privately go by it. Cause
yes,
you know, if I'm the Detroit Tigers and I'm sending Tarek Skubal to the World Baseball Classic, like you need to put him on the pitch count that I tell you. Like it should be manager negotiated, basically.
I agree.
Like you've got AJ Hinch on the phone with Mark DeRosa being like, all right, when he makes this start, we're putting him on a 65 pitch limit that you have to abide by. It's not an official league rule, but here is the pitch count that we have set for him. If he were in camp, this is what we would have him at. Like, we don't need him going out there and throwing 7 shutout innings.
Agree.
In what would be his 3rd spring training outing or whatever it is. So, yeah, I think, like, you can officially remove the pitch count, but it should be the player's MLB manager gets the final say.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm advocating for. Like, you don't send just the same way they do insurance with these players, where they have to have the insurance to be cleared to go play in the tournament. You as an organization, to let your player go, should have to be like, hey, they're signing this piece of paper privately saying, these are your pitch limits. These are the amount of times that you're allowed to pitch. This is the program that you're following for the Major League Baseball team. We're just keeping it in-house so that it doesn't end up being something where, again, it like you said, feels Little League World Series when we're in the middle of an at-bat and a guy's at 50 pitches and you're like, he's out of here. And you go, it just makes it feel a little bit smaller. Again, my only goal in all of these 3 rule changes is to make this feel like an actual premier event so that as the years go on, this doesn't become a blip. This becomes actually something that we're looking forward to, continues to get participation from players, continues to get investment from fans, because I think that we really want more international sports. I think that it shows a different side of the game. I certainly think that the stuff that we saw from Venezuela and Dominican Republic, I'm going, boy, this sure makes Goose Gossage look like an ass, because this could not be anything but exciting, exhilarating, and bring people into this sport. So I just want to see this thing grow. Hey, you've been super generous with the time as always, buddy. Good luck this year. We'll be talking to you a bunch. I'm sorry about your Dominican Republic team, and I'm sorry about the hate that you took online. But you're loved on this show, and you're loved in Canada. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you so much. It's great to see you, JD.
Yeah, always.
And we will we'll do this again very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Jared Carrabis of Baseball is Dead. See you, buddy. Okay, I think I said his first name wrong again. I think I got to do Taylor and Trevor Rogers is going to be the death of me this year. Like Taylor, Trevor, Tyler. I just it's too much. It's too much to have these names for me. I can't do it. I'm just taking a knee on it. You can hate me as much as you want. I'm going to get it wrong until like the middle of the season. It's just the way that it's going to go. It's going to be a horrible ramp up for me. All right, quick break. Leafs Tank is back on. Little acts of kindness in a time when it seems everything is hopeless is one small way to make things better. And one simple act you can take today to have a direct and immediate impact on your community is donating blood at your nearest Canadian Blood Services donation center. This small act can save multiple lives, and the need is always there, and can bring a sense of contribution to a world in need of solutions. Choose a moment of hope today. Make a donation appointment by visiting blood.ca, the Give Blood app, or call 1-888-2-DONATE.
Let's start the betting off with 1,200. Do I have 1,200?
North Toronto Auction is going all unreserved and everything will be sold. The huge 2-day public live auction happens March 27th and 28th. Industrial equipment, light commercial vehicles, cars, trucks, and SUVs all selling unreserved.
1,700 going once.
Preview the entire lineup in person March 24th to 27th. North Toronto Auctions is now part of Euro Auctions. Register at northtorontoauction.com and bid on public vehicle auctions across Canada. Everything will be
Sold.
Right now at Pizzaville, get 2 classic panzerotti for $13.99. Each filled with tomato sauce and cheese, baked or fried, and come with a side of tomato sauce for dipping. Order at pizzaville.ca or from your cell at pound 3636.
Tune in to Real Kipper and Bourne for Game Time, presented by Bet365, only on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Play responsibly. Visit connectsontario.ca.
The Marks This Is Big event is on now. Until March 25th, save up to 60% on your favorite brands with a wide selection of jeans, jackets, tees, hikers, and more. This is Big event on now at Marks and Marks.com.
As Canada stares down economic uncertainty, we're ready with a plan to protect Ontario. We're fighting to defend every job, building new nuclear facilities, speeding up approvals, diversifying our trade, bringing opportunity and good jobs home. Because this province doesn't just sit back, we build. That's how we protect Ontario. Learn more at ontario.ca/protectontario. Paid for by the Government of Ontario.
For the ultimate March break family adventure, head to Scotiabank Arena for another unforgettable fan experience. March 19th is Leafs Fan Day with the Leafs and Scepters 3-on-3 showcase. Interactive events, prizes, alumni appearances, and incredible retail discounts. Bust that boredom and have a fun day. Affordable and action-packed. It's the perfect March break memory for fans of all ages. Don't miss this exclusive event. Leafs Fan Day, March 19th. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster.ca.
You gotta try breakfast at A&W. You gotta try breakfast at A&W. Enjoy A&W's bacon and egg and coffee for just $4.99. It's for a limited time. You gotta try breakfast at A&W. At participating A&W locations in Ontario.
My water heater bill went up again.
Go Lime.
They locked me into a contract I never understood.
Go Lime.
I've been renting for 15 years and I own nothing.
Go Lime.
I called to cancel and they hit me with a buyout fee.
Go Lime. Whatever they're putting you through, there's two words that fix it. Go Lime. Up to 50% less on your monthly water heater rental bill. 8 months free before March 31st. GTA homeowners, search golime.com/radio right now. Terms and conditions apply.
Go Lime.
Spring is just around the corner, and that means Chevrolet's Truck Month is back. For a limited time, get 0% financing for 72 months on the 2026 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 Custom Trail Boss. Canada's most affordable 2-inch factory-lifted V8 truck. With Silverado's off-road capability combined with its powerful 5.3-liter V8 engine, you'll be ready to take on whatever lies ahead. Hurry in, Truck Month won't last long. Visit your local Chevrolet dealer for details.
Ontario is helping you keep more of what's yours. We cut gas and fuel taxes, saving households an average of $435. We scrapped the license plate sticker fee, saving you up to $720. We introduced One Fare, saving commuters on average $1,600 each and every year. And since 2018, we've never raised taxes, keeping costs down for families, workers, and businesses across the province. Learn more at ontario.ca/keeping costs down. Paid for by the Government of Ontario.
Meet iPhone 17e, a whole lot for a lot less, with an almighty all-powerful A19 chip, and Ceramic Shield 2, built to survive this, and this, and a 48-megapixel fusion camera with 2 times optical quality zoom, and double the starting storage of iPhone 16e, and long-lasting battery life for hours of watching the studio. That's the dream! And it comes with Apple Intelligence, and you can charge it with USB-C, or with MagSafe accessories, and a whole lot more, all for a lot less. Get the new iPhone 17e at Bell today. Battery life varies by use. Pricing compared to iPhone 17.
UHN has just been ranked the #2 hospital in the world. Hi, I'm Julie Kenville, CEO at UHN Foundation. Donor support helps us recruit the best doctors to care for our community. Help us today at uhnfoundation.ca.
Hey, it's Blake Murphy.
And I'm Matt Bonner.
Join us weekday mornings at 11 as we break down all things Toronto Raptors.
It's the Raptor Show on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and wherever you get your podcasts.
Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
They told me don't go walking slow. The devil's on the loose. Better run through the jungle. Better run through the jungle. Better run through the jungle. Oh, don't look back. But I heard a rumbling calling to my name.
So everything is about the Leafs. You do a little scroll of social media, whatever your app of choice is, you'll start to notice that All of a sudden, there's a lot of clips of teams sticking up for one another. All of a sudden, if there's even like one hit and a scrum, it's going to be posted on everybody's main account. Look at this. These guys stuck up for this player after this hit. What do you think that's about? What do you think that is in relation to? What do you think they are hoping to achieve in the comments? I could take a guess. I could take a little wee guess. Has to do with Toronto Maple Leafs. And so I hate continuing to belabor this point, but another clip ended up hitting my timeline yesterday, and it was a football clip. And again, to me, it made me think about the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is Jared Verse and Max Crosby. And Jared Verse is discussing what it was like to play the Seattle Seahawks offensive line. This will be the one of two Max Crosby clips I'm going to play on the show today. But here we go. This is clip A.
I get Seattle this. I don't with them at all. Man, the second time we played them, I was about to whoop one of their O-linemen's and all five of their came up on my
Which is how O-linemen should respond.
That's how they should respond. I love that shit. I was like, hey, y'all, but like, I respect that shit.
That's so true, though. When you can feel that, like, togetherness, definitely. And when they're not like that, like you try somebody or you smack the quarterback and the O-line just kind of looks I'm like, oh, yeah, we got him.
Interesting. Two star players discussing the value of a group that competes together and sticks up for one another versus playing a team that doesn't, and how you immediately check into a mode of feeling as though you are going to beat them when the chips are down, that you've already got them. And again, all I'm going to say is I'm bringing up this point continuously because it matters. It matters in terms of the way that they're going to evaluate this thing moving forward. And as most things, as my show, it supports my opinion, which is that the layers in which this team need to cut are deeper than Morgan Riley. They're deeper than an OEL trade. They're deeper than a coaching change. They're deeper than a general manager change. That the things that should be on the table this offseason include everybody that's been involved in establishing a culture year over year that has had this same issue of when an O-lineman watches the quarterback get hit and they kind of look the other way and the other team knows you got them, that this very much applies to, I would say, all of professional sports. That if you don't stick up for your teammates, that you don't end up with a tight room, you don't end up having the same ability to win. But that is something that has become, this isn't like a quick fix for the Maple Leafs. This isn't like a couple of guys off the roster. This isn't a small little turnover. They've already done that. If you look at this team, this is now Brad Treliving's team versus Kyle Dubas's team, but one thing has remained consistent, and that is the guys at the top. And sure, are there other questions that should take place in terms of how blue and white disease sets in, or ways that this was all developed, the ways that I believe a lot of these guys were coddled in terms of the way they had to appear and the way that they had to actually be connected to the general public at large? Sure, there's other stuff. But it has gotten to the point now where we're a decade in and the same problem keeps happening. And that same feeling of you could hit the quarterback and the offensive lineman kind of look the other way, that feeling of it isn't 5 fingers that make the fist, right? Or 4 fingers and a thumb, however you decide on that. That it's gone too far. It's gone too far, and the longer you continue to do this, where you don't address it at the very top of your roster, the more you're just going to see the same. That it doesn't matter how many fights you get into down the stretch of the season. It doesn't matter what kind of sticking up for performative acts you have as a team from this point forward. It's done. It's already been cemented. You've shown who you are year over year over year. And this isn't even just an NHL thing. This isn't just a people trolling the Toronto Maple Leafs. This isn't the media sensationalizing things. I think I got that right this time. Yesterday I struggled. I tripped all over it, much like I do with the Trevor Taylor Rogers situation. He's Tyler Rogers, but that's going to, why do you have to have 3 guys with all basically the same name? It's not my fault. It's theirs. This is just a thing in sports, and they don't have that thing. And they haven't had that thing for a very long time. And I would argue maybe outside of the first 2, maybe 3 seasons, they just haven't had that thing. So it's time to move on. It's time to try something new. Anyways, quick break. We're going to talk to Tate Frazier, the Ringer, get into some March Madness stuff.
Recently, our company softball team lost the big game by 1 run. Then Dale tried to console us with the quote, "Winning isn't everything." Well, Dale and I are very different. I get early payout from Bet365. If my team goes up big, I get paid out instantly, even if they blow the lead later. Sound familiar, Dale? Thanks, Bet365. Must be 18 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you have questions or concerns about your gambling or the gambling of someone close to you, please go to connectsontario.ca. T&Cs apply.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it today at carsforkids.ca. That's cars with a K. Donation's super easy, and you'll get a maximum tax credit.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
It's Subway's Lunch, Not Luck, where it's a win every day of the week. What's the win? Take it away, Kyle.
It's Subway's Meal of the Day, only $7.99. A 6-inch sub, a drink and chips, or 2 cookies. Enjoy a different sub every day, like Veggie Delight on Monday, Cold Cut Combo on Wednesday, or even Sweet Onion Chicken Teriyaki on Sunday.
That's right. 7 days, 7 meals, $7.99 each. Subway's Meal of the Day. Winning isn't luck, it's lunch.
Price and participation may vary. Extras, bottled beverages, taxes, and fees for delivery additional.
Spring. Ready to start your spring organizing? Create space in your garage, closets, and basement with Access Storage. Try 4 weeks free. Details at accessstorage.ca. Buy Canadian, store Canadian.
Volksfest is back with the season's biggest deals. Or are they the smallest rates? For up to 36 long months, get just a teeny-weeny 1.99% financing on the 7-seat Atlas, the fuel-efficient Jetta, and more. And don't make any payments for 90 whole days. So are these gigantic savings or puny rates? However you see it, don't miss Volksfest. On at your local Volkswagen dealer until March 31st. Conditions apply.
Volkswagen.
Life's noisy enough. Everything demands your attention. So here's something rare. Silence. It's underappreciated. Kind of like windows from Magic. With a 40-year warranty on all parts and labor, you'll spend less time worrying and more time enjoying. While others add to the noise, Magic cuts right through it. Find out more at magicwindow.ca.
Slip and fall accidents are no laughing matter. Strict notice periods, deadlines, and unreasonable insurance companies only add to your anxiety. At Bergmanis Pereira, we've been fighting and winning cases like these for decades. We understand what you're going through and have a full team standing by to provide compassionate and skilled legal care. I'm Alan Pereira, and I wrote the book on slip and fall accidents, and I'm here to help. Our consultations are always free, and we don't get paid until you get paid. Call the team at Bergmanis Pereira. Expert advice when you need it most. Visit us at bplawyers.ca.
The Infiniti QX50 is the fastest growing compact luxury SUV sold. And opportunities like this don't last. The all-in clear-out event is on. For a limited time, lease the QX50 Pure from just $259 semi-monthly at 0% for 39 months with $49.95 down. Offer includes a $22.50 customer bonus. Visit your local retailer today. Conditions apply. Available at participating Ontario retailers. Fastest growing compact luxury SUV sold based on DeRosier segmentation comparing total sales for 2024 and 2025.
University Health Network right here in Toronto has been named the #2 hospital in the world, and for the 8th year in a row, #1 in Canada. Hi, I'm Kevin Smith, President and CEO of UHN. Together, with your support, we're turning discovery into breakthroughs and breakthroughs into better outcomes for patients. All of us, united, are creating the best care for our community and our future. We're deeply grateful for your support. Find out more at uhnfoundation.ca.
The Hyundai Upgrade Your Ride sale is here. Step into a new Kona or Elantra, both with a best-in-their-class new car warranty. If you're already a Hyundai owner, get up to a 2% loyalty lease rate reduction on Kona and Elantra. Or get up to $750 off when you make the switch to Hyundai from select brands. Hurry! The Upgrade Your Ride sale is only on from March 19th to the 31st. Conditions apply. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today.
This week at Real Canadian Superstore, get 2-kilogram bags of Lantic granulated white sugar for only $1.88. Plus, get it delivered with your first year of PC Express Pass for just $2.50 per month. Conditions apply. See flyer for details at superstore.ca/flyer.
Hey, it's Matt Marchese.
And I'm Mike Futa.
We're discussing the top stories of the day across the NHL and the hockey world, weekdays at noon.
It's the Fan Hockey Show on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and wherever you get your podcasts.
CJCL Toronto.
All right, it's that time of year where I take Friday off so I can spend the entire day watching basketball in a bar with friends. It is March Madness time. It is bracket filling out time. Most people have already done it. I got to say, I'm doing late submission because I wanted to talk to this guy first. It is Tate Frazier of The Ringer. What's up, buddy? How we doing?
Hey, man, good to see you. Best time of the year. Happy to be here to talk about March Madness. And I'm right there with you. I'm kind of waiting for these Dayton games to get done before I start making my picks, too. So I'm gonna submit a late bracket as well.
Yeah, I got to tell you, though, you made one critical mistake in turning your passion into a career, and that is that you do not get to enjoy the, bar, sit down, 8 pints, waiting for the 10 o'clock game to roll around and the last leg of a parlay piece of the enjoyment that is March Madness.
Yeah, that's a facet of it. Luckily this year I get a little bit of that. We're going to be in Vegas with Cousin Sal at Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club. We're going to do some race to tens, have a little bit of that experience with the people, which will be fun. And, I just can't help myself. I'm a sicko. I love watching all these basketball teams. I love to see the coaches, the strategies, all that sort of stuff. So, the best of both worlds. That's what you want.
It's amazing. I can't wait. Okay, so every year when we talk about this tournament, I do like to try to paint it through the first light because a lot of people in this country don't have a team, right? There's a lot of Duke fans. You get big programs. You're North Carolina Tar Heels. That's a big one here, obviously, as well. But ultimately, a lot of people watch this tournament through the lens of who are the guys I have to watch? Who are the players that I need to watch? And this draft is loaded at the top. It's a super exciting draft. Super frustrating as a Raptors fan who watched them tank for the last couple of years to end up with a whole lot of kind of nothing and maybes versus what they have in this draft at the very top. Had Toronto kind of fallen into one of those spots. But I want to start with this. Who is the guy, in your opinion, that has the most to gain or lose in this tournament that is going to be in the draft lottery?
Yeah, I think it's actually a guy who's at the top of the draft, which is Darren Peterson. I mean,
agree.
There's been a lot of drama with Darren Peterson throughout the year, right? We got more clarity on the problems. It came out that he's having some full body cramps, kind of had a traumatic experience at the start of the season. So anytime he's had any sort of inkling of a cramp, that's why he was pulling himself out of the games. At least that's the story now, which explains a little bit as to why this was so weird and so hard to talk about because it seems like it's a medical situation. And I don't know what that means for the NBA evaluation, but it also sets up for a time and a moment for him to, if he makes a run here, I mean, you look at Kansas's bracket, second round game potentially against St. John's, Rick Pitino. If he's able to, get by that team, then he potentially plays the number one seed in Duke with Cam Boozer, another guy who's in the number one pick conversation. And if he does what he did to Debanza head to head against Boozer, then I think everybody, all the fears are calmed quite a bit with Darren Peterson. So I think he has a lot to gain from this tournament.
Yeah, I also think that he fits this category because he has the most to lose. If he flames out early in the tournament and has a really tough game, I don't know.
Loses to Cal Baptist.
Yeah, I think that this is a scenario, to me, again, as someone who's not nearly as connected to it as you are, but the conversation seems to have shifted to, hey, who's going second more than it is who's going first. That Debiance has seemed to have separated himself as the more consensus number one pick because of some of the questions that have been around Peterson, right? That it's it's enough with the health, it's enough with the cramping stuff at this level. I watched a clip of Jeff Teague talk about it the other day, and he was like, I can't believe that he said that publicly. I can't believe that they allowed him to go out and put that information out there. But if you end up in a game against Duke, and even if your team ends up losing, but you fill the box score and you look like you're the best player in that game against what is the closest thing to an NBA team in this tournament, other than maybe Arizona, depending on how you feel about it, I think that goes a long way to all of a sudden if you end up with the first pick in that draft and you're telling yourself, you know what? This actually might have been a tipping moment for us. We did see enough from this guy. We saw such superstardom. He became such a story in this tournament that it actually does have a little bit of the business implication of this as well, that he could end up actually being the number one pick versus being kind of cemented in that too.
Yeah, and it shows when the lights are bright, he turns it up. And I think
Right.
that's really what people want to see as well, because it does feel like, when he played AJ head to head, he did turn it up in that first half, but basically played a perfect first half. And then he sits out in the second half, which kind of is the story. It's the tale of two halves with Darren Peterson. You get this bright light that looks like the obvious number one pick, but then you also get this weird storyline. At least we have more clarity on the storyline, like I said. But if he does do that against a Duke team who has Dame Sarr, who's one of the best ball pressure, point of attack defenders that we've seen. I mean, Jeremy Fears from Michigan State, one of the best point guards in the country, second team All-American. Dame Sarr put him in a blender, and he could do nothing against him. And Dame Sarr has done that to plenty of guards so far this year. And if, you get by Dame Sarr, you got Malik Brown, who was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, leads the country in deflections and making an entry pass, getting in the lane against Malik Brown is a tough combination to get through. And then if you get past those two guys on the back end, if Gongba gets back and is healthy, he's a great rim protector. So you got three levels of the Duke defense. And if Darren Peterson carves up all three, then I'm with you. I think he's right back in that conversation, and we're having a conversation again about him or AJ.
Well, I think that it's also a situation, too, where he needs some positive momentum behind him. Like, yes, there's definitely the practical element, but for him personally, these last 2 months have been nothing but negative talk. And even to the point where we're saying, hey, it's a medical situation that hasn't exactly endeared him to people. And it's also one that, as much as I believe him, as much as you want to believe the player when he says something like this, it still is met with some skepticism, right? Like, not everyone's just like, oh, well, problem solved. That's what it is. He's going to get an NBA nutritionist and everything's going to be fine. We don't have to worry about this at all with a number one pick. Like, it does come with some concern. So I think it is him.
Yeah.
I'm very compelled to watch him play. I'm hoping that he makes a deep run. I really want him versus Duke. Like, I just think that in terms of the casual basketball fan interest, that's probably the number one matchup that we can get into this tournament, where people are going to be sold on the idea of like, hey, you actually kind of need to watch this game. And that brings me to this. Where do you slot this Duke team in terms of casual person interest? Because we have like the RJ Zion team, right? Which I think is sort of the pinnacle of this thing, where Zion was so unbelievable that everybody wanted to watch him, right? He had all the highlights coming into the tournament. Everyone wanted to see those two guys play, and especially in this country because the team's leading scorer was a Canadian player that was also going to go high in the draft. Then I think we had like the Cooper Flag in recent vintage, where it was like, again, a number one overall pick. Now Boozer's not going to go first overall. It doesn't seem like there's really a pathway for him to do that. But do you put this group and this talent into that pool of they're right outside that layer, they're way below that layer? Where do you put them in terms of the casual interest in Duke this time around? I know it's a hard answer for you.
Yeah, I think that they're a better college basketball team than maybe those teams.
Right.
Which is a little bit different than, talking about pro potential and the talent and the ceiling of someone like a Cam Boozer. I think Cooper Flag and Zion are definitely more of a higher ceiling when you talk about what they're going to do at the next level. But, Cam Boozer has never lost at any level, and he continues just to kind of get the job done. I compared him to Tyler Hansbrough earlier in the year. I think that's sort of what he is. He just kind of gets you his numbers. I mean, even against Virginia in the ACC tournament game in the championship, he gets 13, 8, and 8 and probably had his worst game. But again, he always kind of affects the bottom line. And this team is really just built to win an NCAA tournament. And I think that's why Duke is so scary. They don't really make mistakes. They are so good at drawing up after timeout plays, baseline out of bounds, sideline out of bounds. They're so good at adjusting in game, right? Against Virginia, Onyenso had 7 blocks in that game. They get Cam Boozer to start bringing the ball up the court. Onyenso now is pulled out to the perimeter. In the last 4 minutes, Duke's able to find a way to win the game. So I just think this Duke team is actually built more for college, built more for the tournament, and maybe more so than those Cooper Flag teams. I mean, Cooper Flag and Concanimpo, I was there last year in San Antonio in the Final Four, and they're going up against Houston. I didn't really see a pathway for them not to win the national championship, but Houston's physicality got to them late in the game. I think John Shire has a proclivity to kind of turn to his superstar. He's got a little bit of an NBA mindset where he's like, you go win me the game. Not always the best approach. He does do that sometimes still. He did it again with Cam Boozer a couple times this season. I think they've learned their lessons. Duke is not going to beat themselves, and I think they're actually built more so to win this title than maybe those other two teams.
Okay, so when it comes to those top guys in the draft, are you buying any of the smokescreen from some of these guys, DeBeyonce and Peterson particularly, where they're discussing things like, hey, they would go back to college for another year?
I think that's a fun trope that has turned into like an easy PR win, right? You get the fan base on your side. I've been burnt before. I actually went 2005, North Carolina won the national championship. I went to the parade in the Dean Dome afterwards where they're having like the pep rally to celebrate. And Sean May said to the crowd of 20,000 people, I'm going to be back next year, right? And everyone goes crazy. And then I think a week later, he's like, I'm declaring for the NBA draft. This is something that we've seen for a long time. It's you kind of get into the emotional aspect of it, right? These fans love you. You feel adored. You know, if you say that, you get a little bit more adoration. So Peterson, I think he definitely was trying to endear himself to the Kansas fan base, who's been a little bit up and down with him. AJ obviously loves what he's got at BYU. He's been out in Utah for quite some time. He's basically being funded by the Utah Jazz to be out there. So there's a reason why he's a little bit leaning in that direction. Caleb Wilson also sort of did the same thing for North Carolina. But I think now that he's a second-team All-American, going to get his jersey in the rafters. It was already a foregone conclusion, but at this point, we always know what it is. It's a nice blip to get everybody excited, but we all know what the right answer is.
I got to tell you, by the way, like I'm already on high alert for if you're a believer in the NBA rigs the draft, if Utah wins this draft, I think that's conclusive. I think that we're done even debating whether this thing is rigged or not based on the funding that has gone into them to like basically try to funnel them there already. That one's it's basically set in stone.
If Utah gets number one, AJ's going number one. It'll be like minus 30,000.
It won't matter what you do in this tournament, Jared Peterson. We were wrong. You actually were playing for nothing. He's going to the Utah Jazz 100%. Okay, so this is a very deep guard draft and point guard specifically, right? Like that's what's at the top of this thing, which is sort of refreshing to me because, I feel like the league has become very, very obsessed with 3-and-D wings, right? Like, hey, can you get the 3-and-D wing player? That's the guy that we want to have, a guy who can also attack the rim. This is a point guard draft, which is, I think, awesome. Like, we're going to inject a bunch of guys into the league. But is it the kind of draft, or is this setting up in terms of ahead of the tournament as a group where you end up with a draft like the Donovan Mitchell one, where one of those guys slips to like the 12 spot, and we look back on it 3 years from now and say, boy, that was actually probably the best guy in this draft, or if not the second best guy in this draft, and they ended up sliding him to 12 because this group of players is so condensed.
Yeah, I think the guy that, the two guys, I guess, I would put into that camp. I mean, Darius Acuff is shooting up draft boards right now for Arkansas. Yeah. He's been incredible. I mean, you get Marbury comps. He's not quite the athlete as Stephon Marbury, but he is the impact player of Marbury. Iverson's also been thrown out for him. My boss, Bill Simmons, threw out Kyrie Irving for him. So, I mean, Darius Acuff has just been a bucket. And defensively, there are some question marks, but he's been incredible. Kingston Flemings right now kind of seems like the guy that's penciled in as the first guard to go off the board for Houston. He's been so good. Went into a backcourt that was veteran-laden and was able to find his footing and become the guy for that team. So those are the two guys that I feel like have shot up the boards. But talking about a guy like a Donovan Mitchell, a Devin Booker, someone that could maybe fall a little bit in the lottery, Mikal Brown Jr. There with Louisville. I mean, he's had back problems throughout the year, but he's the biggest of those guards. He's like legit 6'4", 6'5", can do really everything with the basketball in his hands and has a lot of confidence. So I think he could be one of those guys that slides down. And then Arizona, Braden Burries, who has been the leading scorer for Arizona, even though Jaden Bradley, the veteran guard, the senior there for Arizona, was the Big 12 player of the year. He's been their clutch player, but Braden Burries has also been right there with him, especially in 2026. Once we turned the calendar, it did feel like Burries really stepped it up and took it up to another level. So I think you can get a really, really talented guard there maybe at that spot where it's like 8 to 12 range, and you could end up with Brown or Burries. And then another guy, Keaton Wagler, who's at Illinois, one of the best passers in this class. He's still got some physical build that he needs to get there to kind of deal with the physicality. We saw Yaxel Lindeborg with Michigan give him some problems once he picked him up. But again, that's a 23-year-old guarding an 18-year-old. Burries is a little bit older. He's at 20, so that might knock him down a little bit. But again, I think if you get one of those three guards, you're going to be happy because they're all three unique and special in their own way.
Yeah, again, I'm really excited for this class, especially at the top. But as I mentioned, and this is my last kind of draft-oriented question before we start talking a little bit more about the tournament itself. So there is a Raptors frustration for me here in Toronto, which is, again, the tanking seasons that were really not clear, then a really big attempted tank that didn't really go their way. But if you look back since the Scotty Barnes pick, which we would agree is a very good one, it has been Grady Dick, Jacoby Walter, CMB with the first. CMB, we'll see, but it looks pretty promising. And then one draft where Christian Koloko was their top pick. Elijah Martin, Jonathan Mobo. Not exactly no one's hearing that group of players and saying, Lucky Raptors. What a lucky team you have there growing organically from the base. Is this the type of draft to you that does go deep into the 17-20 range? Like, where to you is the real drop-off in this draft? Like, how would you tier it?
Yeah, I think until like 15, 16, 17, you might get a really good player. I mean, if someone like a Koa Pete for Arizona falls down into like the first pick outside the lottery at like 15, I think he's a really talented player and a guy who's going to help the bottom line at the next level. Another winner, kind of like Cam Boozer. If Boozer's the 1A at that power forward position, I think Koa Pete's right there as a 1B. Koa Pete came onto the scene and shocked everybody with how he dominated Florida in that first game against Florida's front court, had 30 points, double-double, was just incredible. Now, he hasn't had quite as many games like that. He's had a couple injuries to sort of deal with and sift through. Nothing major throughout the season, but that has taken him and tapered him off a little bit. But I do think that this draft, I mean, there's a breadth of a talent in that freshman class. I don't know if it's the best ever at the top, because you're talking about like a 1981 class that had like Elijah Wan and Michael Jordan. So I think that would be a stretch to get to that point. But I think how deep this freshman class is. I mean, you get into sort of the weeds here, and I mean, we'll see what kind of guys come out. I mean, there's even a guy out at Stanford, Abuka Okori, who led the ACC in scoring. That's an incredible, crafty point guard that might end up going to the draft, and you could get him as late as like 29, 30 potentially. And you still have these veteran guys who are going to come out. Yaxel Lindeborg, who, as I mentioned, at Michigan, a little bit older, but a really good player that you might be able to get in the 20 range. So I think it goes deep. I think this first round, any pick in the first round, really, you can find potentially a hidden gem and somebody that can really help your team and help the bottom line and actually be a contributor early on if you get one of these veteran older guys. So if I tiered it out, I mean, I think the top 10 picks are all in a tier 1 situation. And then, you know, your tier 2 probably goes from like 10 to 19, somewhere in there. And then you get in like a tier 3, and the tier 3 still can be contributors at the next level. So I think it's a really deep first round. I'll be interested to see like what guys that are kind of in that fringe first round that decide to go back to college basketball because they might get more of a bag, as we saw last year with the Lindenborg, who decided to go back, who was kind of a late first round guy, because you get more guaranteed money in college now, which is crazy. But yeah, it's a really, really deep class and a really fun class. And I think, you know, I've seen a couple boards just from college scouts that I know for some of these teams, and it's interesting to see like where guys are on different boards for different teams. And I think that kind of shows you how deep this class is.
Yeah, the freshman thing, though, is definitely the big story, though. Just considering if you do look at mock drafts, which I do, and I try to take in as many different people's as I possibly can, you take a peek at that top 15, and I think it's basically 13 freshmen are projected to go in the top 15. Like, you're looking at that kind of a number in this draft class, which pushes everybody down, which does, you think, hopefully make things a little bit more compelling later in the first. But to have that tier be 19, that second tier in there, that's relevant to Raptors fans because that's kind of the fringe of where you're at right now with this organization. Okay, 3 of the last 4 years, 12 seeds, 2-2 in the opening round of this tournament. So that is always the sexiest pick. Everybody loves 12 seeds. I've actually done drafts I've done my own brackets where I've taken just all 4 and gone across the board and been like, well, I'm going to hit on a couple of these, so let's just do it. So I want you to pick 2 12 seeds that you think have the most chance at actually moving forward here, because to me, that is always one of the first places you start with a bracket, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been a funneled up for talent in college basketball, and the gap from the top into the mid-tier and the mid-tier to the bottom tier has gotten wider. So if you look at these spreads, that kind of tells you the difference, right? These 1 seeds now, I mean, they're favored by 24 points. It used to be around like 18, 19 points. So like it's been about a 5-point gap, and the talent, obviously disparity has been just climbing up the ranks. And that's why you see guys like even at a Purdue, right? Oscar Clough, their starting 5-man, was a guy who was in junior college, and then he goes to Wazoo, and now he ends up at Purdue. So like we've seen this, and I think that's taken away a little bit of sort of the upset potential because there is such a larger gap between these teams. But some of the 12s that I like, just because of who they are and the makeup of their teams. And it's not really because I don't trust the 5 seeds, because I think the 5 seeds are really good. But the first one I'll highlight is Northern Iowa. They have made magic in this tournament before. We remember the Jesperson shot the last time that they were in the tournament against Texas, a half-court heave. That was an all-time March Madness moment. Farouk Manesh, obviously back in the day, now the head coach of Colorado State. But But Northern Iowa is sort of a team that doesn't turn the ball over, is a veteran team, slows the pace down a little bit, doesn't let the other team get out in transition. They face St. John's out on the West Coast, which is a tough draw for St. John's. I know a lot of people have talked about this, but with St. John's going out to San Diego, no fans really in attendance for the Johnnies. UNI as a team, maybe they overlook. I doubt it, though, because Rick Pitino is going to be so prepared for this team. But we saw St. John's get picked off last year. And the reason that they did is because Arkansas was able to kind of expose their switching defense, also keep them out of transition, not turn the ball over. UNI is in a very similar situation where they're a veteran team. They're not going to give them easy buckets in transition. St. John's is going to have to play in the half court. They're going to need Dylan Darling, Ian Jackson, Sannon, these guards to really help create some shots and some opportunities for them. And that's a little bit of a weak spot for St. John's. So I think Northern Iowa would probably be the first 12 seed I would highlight. And I know that's an unpopular pick because we have Rick Pitino on the other sideline, but it's the type of team that can really knock off a team like St. John's. So I think that's the first 12 I would highlight. I know McNeese did it last year as a 12 seed against Clemson. I think Vanderbilt will be okay against McNeese, but that's another team that has a lot of guys who kind of got in the portal, ended up, finding a new home at McNeese, and their coach there could end up at LSU potentially. So that's another team that could be a little bit scary, but I still trust Vanderbilt. I think UNI would be the one I would go for. High Point will be a team that people go for. Wisconsin, High Point play very similar styles. It's going to be a high-scoring affair there. High Point can shoot the heck out of the basketball. Wisconsin, it has a variance as well, shooting the basketball. I still like Wisconsin to win that game, but maybe you talk yourself into High Point. And then the other one that I think some people might fall for, but I'm not going to fall for, is Akron. We saw Akron win the MAC. I think a lot of people had eyes on the MAC this year just because of Miami, Ohio, going undefeated in the regular season. So that led us to watch their tournament. If you watch their tournament, it's obvious that Akron is the best team in the MAC. I don't really like the matchup with Texas Tech. I think Grant McCaslin's one of the best coaches in college basketball. I think Texas Tech is a little bit undervalued right now. They lost JT Toppin, a first-team All-American. So I think people think they have a chance to get knocked off. So maybe they go for Akron. I would take Akron maybe to cover the points. I think the line's around like 8.5. But I think at the end of the day, Texas Tech wins that game. And I think they end up going to the Sweet 16. So I wouldn't fall for Akron, but I understand the people that will. So I think my number one power ranking, I would go Northern Iowa as the best 12 seed to maybe make some magic happen.
Yeah, I really like this answer because I think a lot of people pick their 12 seed based off of name brand recognition, where they go, oh, McNeese. Akron. I've seen you do things in this tournament before, so let's just trend towards this thing. Also, something that you point out there that's a pet peeve of mine. We've become too aware of gambling. Like everybody now, sports bets. Most sports bettors are just like they understand lines. They understand to look at it. Most people have an app, even if they're just like casual, small sports bettors. And I do think that the tournament has lost a little bit of something when everybody uses the lines as the indicator for how they're making the picks. Like it used to drive me crazy back in the day.
Vegas can be wrong, you know what I mean? I think that's the other part. Like, yeah,
they can be wrong.
We need to understand that.
But yes. I just think that more people now are ending up with more similar brackets because more people I know are using the Vegas lines to basically determine what upset picks that they're going to make, what other ones they're going to do versus like the blind betting nature of what makes so much of this tournament fun. And that's just the way that I felt. Like, I used to get so pissed. I remember back in university, I had a friend in our house who did his entire bracket using, there was like an ESPN, I'm sure you remember it, where it was like a bracket builder where they would do like a percentages model. And he would just go through and use the percentage model to make his bracket. And I was like, where's the fun in that? How are you just doing, like you're making none of these picks based on, I don't care if you're doing it like, I like this team's colors more. I like one player on this team more. Oh, I watched 2 games of this team, so I'm picking them to go deeper because I feel some affiliation to them. I would much prefer that's the way you make a bracket rather than just looking at the gambling lines, looking at all the spreads and being like, okay, well, mathematically, this is the way Vegas sees it. This is how I see it. This is the way that I'm doing things. Also, the last thing out of what you just said there, I'm crushed that you picked Northern Iowa as the team because am I wrong to think that Rick Pitino has now endured so many scandals that he's become like a sympathetic figure, like a beloved figure? There's like a narrative arc with him now where he's gone through so much that people almost don't care anymore, that they actually root for him.
Yeah, he's come full circle. I mean, he went over to Greece. It felt like he was banished from college basketball and nobody would touch him. I remember when Maryland's job opened up a few years ago and they were like, we can't hire Rick Pitino. That would be insane.
Right.
He found a perfect spot. I mean, Iona, when he was there, right, he had Walter Clayton Jr. And Danish Jenkins, who is now playing for the Pistons, right? So two guys that are now in the NBA, and he had him at Iona. We remember Iona was up on UConn at halftime in that first round matchup. And then obviously UConn goes on to dominate and win the national championship in 2023. So like Rick Pitino from there to go from Iona to he was kind of off the beaten path to go to a program in St. John's that he has turned into a Big East powerhouse. It's an incredible story. He seems to be happier than ever. He seems to have more juice. I just think that the Big East brand of basketball is so physical, and they are almost built to win games in the Big East, but maybe not win games in the NCAA tournament. But you're right. I mean, we're all sympathetic to Rick Pitino. We all have a little bit of nostalgia for Rick Pitino. And I think, Rick Pitino has been so candid with the fact that, like, yes, he had to go take the Boston Celtics job when he left, Kentucky. But, he's kind of endeared himself to college basketball fans because he's admitted that he wished, he could have seen what that timeline looks like if he just stayed at Kentucky and continued to be one of the greatest coaches in college basketball. And he continues to win at a high clip. He continues to coach kind of in a throwback way, right, as we kind of moved into this analytical metrics main model that we all live in now. And Rick Pitino is the throwback. He likes to press. He likes to have a defensive ball pressure, all this sort of stuff. So I think it just kind of feels like of a bygone era, but he's doing it in modern times. And I think that's why we all love Rick Pitino.
Yeah, that's what it is. I think that we're getting very sentimental for the past, and especially with college.
We love nostalgia.
Yeah, we love nostalgia, but I think especially love it now in college sports because the NIL stuff and the transfers have
so different.
Yeah, it shifted things so much to the point where you're looking at like these rosters year over year. Like, so I have Brady Quinn on every Monday during the NFL season, and he told me, I think that was like 45% of college football players entered the portal this year. And I went, yeah, okay, this has become too much. So that when we see guys like Izzo take to the podium and start barking about letting NBA players come back to college, he stands for something that we want to root for now. So I think like the Izzos, the voices that have that kind of power that still resonate, that we're familiar with, and Pitino less so because of all of the controversies. Like, I don't think he really gets to stand on a soapbox the same way that Izzo does. But
he'll try to.
Yeah, but of course he'll try to. But when we see these guys now, yes, you're right. It's nostalgia. It harkens back to college basketball that we think we loved a little bit more, or that we definitely build up in our minds a bit more. And so now we root for him. So now he's in an advantageous spot. All right, two more before you go. One is, who's your favorite Cinderella story potential in this tournament?
Yeah, I just I think that it's going to get chalky, and I think if anything, the Cinderellas might be kind of in the first round. You might get a story where like a high pointed team I mentioned before. Maybe I think some of these teams might push some teams in the first round. Maybe a Furman pushes UConn and they're up late in that second half, like with 10 minutes to go in the game, and Furman's in a 1 or 2 point game, and everyone's like, oh my God, this is going to happen, and then UConn kind of clears and finds a way. Speedy Claxton and Hofstra, just with the Alabama drama that's going on, maybe that's a team that plays a totally different style than Alabama, that they can maybe, get a first round win. I don't really see a path for a team to make a Cinderella run like a St. Peter's to an Elite Eight, but every time you think that, I mean, we talked about lines earlier. I think St. Peter's was, an 18-point dog to Kentucky before they went and won that game. So, I mean, anything is possible. When you talk about the tournament, I mean, there's some 7 seeds that I would point to. Maybe a UCLA with Donovan Dent could be a 7 seed. St. Mary's down there in the bottom of the bracket, but I don't like their draw having to face Houston in the second round. I mean, maybe Kentucky if you talk yourself into Kentucky, but I don't think that would be a Cinderella story by any means. But that's a team that maybe just because of the talent that they have there, they could be able to make a run. I think, honestly, the highest seed that could really potentially go to the Final Four and compete for a national championship is a team like Gonzaga. Gonzaga is a little bit off the beaten path. They have obviously had a really great season. They win the WCC tournament. Braden Huff, who is their power forward, who went down with an injury, he's trending in the direction to hopefully be back. I know he's been going through practice. I think they've got him in non-contact right now, but they're hoping that he'll be back by the second weekend if they're able to get there. So that would be like the highest seed I could see really making a run to the Final Four. Nebraska is a fun story. I hope they win their first round game. They never won a tournament game. Howard had never never won a tournament
Crazy.
game. They won in the first 4, which was a great story. So if Nebraska's able to beat Troy, that's its own version of a Cinderella story, just because of the history of that program.
Yep.
But again, I just don't really see a team. I mean, VCU potentially, but I think that it's one of those things too where once
that's just you. That's just you with your
pick,
negative North Carolina, like the doom casting element, where you're like, VCU first round is probably going to knock us out. We don't have our guy. We feel vulnerable. Okay, let's reframe this. How about? So I would say you're right that this feels like a very chalky tournament in general. That everybody.
I don't think it's all 1 seeds, but I do think it's going to be the top seeds.
Okay, but that's
the top 4 kind of separated themselves.
That's where I'm going with this, though. Is a lot of people love the 1 seeds in this tournament, right? Like I think that if you're going to project brackets out of this thing, I would say the vast majority of them are going to have a Duke Arizona final, and that some of your office pools are going to come down to some of the upsets you make earlier or what the score is of that game in terms of a tiebreaker if it ends up happening. A lot of people really like Florida. Like, we got Matt Bonner who works here, does the show after me. Obviously, he's been talking about Florida all year long to me. If you had to pick a non-1 seed to win this tournament, who would it be?
Non-1 seed, I think the 2 that
2
I
is
would
eligible.
be. Okay, yeah. I
2s
think
and 3s.
Houston would be the 2 seed that I would go for, just because of Houston's draw in the South. I mean, I feel bad for Florida. I think they got a tough matchup. If they get to the Elite Eight, they have to play Houston in Houston. That's really tough. And they're the 4th 1 seed, so I guess they get the top 2 seed, and you wouldn't expect to play the top 2 seed in a basic home game there in Houston. So I think that's a tough matchup. Gonzaga, I really like Gonzaga as a 3 seed. I think that they got a nice draw. I think they'll, end up playing Purdue there in the Sweet 16. And I think Mark Few versus Matt Payne are 2 really good coaches in college basketball. I would lean Gonzaga in that game just because of Graham Ike. I think he's a better front court player. And if Huff is back by that game, I think that helps them with the TKR coverage there. So I think Gonzaga would be the 3 seed that I would go for. I've seen some people talk themselves into Virginia. I just think Virginia in the second round, potentially going up against a Tennessee team that's pretty physical, that could be a kind of a tough spot for them to find a way to win that game. And if they get by that game, Iowa State would be a tough matchup for them. I honestly think Michigan of all the 1 seeds, I think Michigan got the best draw if you really look at the matchups. There's not really a front court in their region that can match up with their front 3. And the only team that really could would be Virginia. And I'm just not sure Virginia's going to get there. So I think the 2 seed would be Houston. The 3 seed would be Gonzaga.
Yeah, and I like the draw for Houston as well. Like, and again, you mentioned like the path for them. I think that's a really good one too. I think that if you're somebody like me, you want to be able to zag from what the consensus is and take a shot. And you want to have that be a realistic shot though, and not do something where day 2 you have to take out the pen and do the multi-layer scratches.
Start putting X's everywhere. It's never fun.
The absolute worst. Tate, again, congrats on all the hard work this season to get to this point. Enjoy the tournament. Enjoy the time with Cousin Sal. Have fun, buddy. Thanks.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Enjoy the madness.
Of course. Take care. Tate Frazier of The Ringer. All right. Before we take a break, for the ultimate March break family adventure, head to Scotiabank Arena for another unforgettable fan experience. March 19th is Leafs Fan Day with Leafs and Scepter's 3-on-3 showcase, interactive events, prizes, alumni appearances, and incredible retail discounts. Bust that boredom and have a fun day. Affordable and action-packed. It's the perfect March break memory for fans of all ages. Don't miss this exclusive event. Leafs Fan Day, March 19th. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster.ca. All right, let's wrap up this show. We'll do what we missed.
We are your home of the Toronto Raptors. Catch the action on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, streaming on the Sportsnet app, and at sportsnet.ca/590.
Great goal! Let's go to Dave at the bench.
Oh, what a shot, Gord. Last time we spoke, you had been really tired. Not anymore.
Yeah, snoring all night. Losing sleep ruined your game.
Problem snoring? Suffer from sleep apnea? Invest in yourself. Call Dr. Paulette Pillersdorf. She'll use her laser to help treat your snoring and oral appliance like a sports mouth guard for your sleep apnea. Your partner will thank you.
Thanks, Gord.
Book your appointment with Dr. Paulette Pillersdorf. Call 647-243-2006.
Hi, I'm Jessica from Speedy Glass. So here's what usually happens. You get a small chip in your windshield, you hit one pothole, and suddenly you're staring at a crack. Trust me, I see this every day. But don't worry, we've got you. At Speedy Glass, our certified experts will handle your replacement so your new windshield is as solid and safe as before. It's easy. Just go to speedyglass.ca and pick the location and time that work for you. So book today at speedyglass.ca.
Speedy Glass Repair.
Speedy Glass Replace.
The legendary Yeti thrives in cold environments.
Just like my Subaru, all-wheel drive is like having an extra pair of Yeti legs.
The Yeti's natural habitat is in colder climates, but it's been spotted all over Canada.
Just like Subaru, we go everywhere, enjoying winter with the little ones. They grow up so fast. Legendary winters await, so hurry into your local Subaru dealer for lease and finance rates as low as 0.5%. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. Subaru, uncommon comes standard.
Were you just daydreaming about warmer days again? Yeah, we thought so. Get a taste of summer at the Toronto Sportsman Show, presented by Sail. Check out the latest boats and marine accessories. Compare fishing, hunting, camping, and overlanding gear. Talk directly with the experts. See new products and lock in show-only deals before the season begins. The best brands, the newest gear, a show floor packed with adventure. Toronto Sportsman Show, presented by Sail, Thursday to Sunday at the International Centre. Save on tickets at torontosportshow.ca.
Why all the fuss about Stanley? Because the quest to hoist this 35-pound trophy is the best journey in sports.
This doesn't get any better than this, does it?
You just have to watch. The Stanley Cup playoffs begin April 18th on Sportsnet. Here for the Cup. The Blue Jays are back, Canada.
She's gone!
Stream over 150 live games and save over 30% with Sportsnet Plus annual plans.
Boy, oh boy, this is premium stuff.
Subscribe today at sportsnetplus.ca.
I finished a 5K in 94th place, right after a man wearing jeans. Then a volunteer gave me a medal. But I don't want participation trophies, unless they're from Bet365. With their daily prize matcher game, I win by matching gold coins, cherries, and more. Take that, Denim Man. Thanks, Bet365. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you have questions or concerns about your gambling or the gambling of someone close to you, please go to connectsontario.ca. T&Cs apply.
A long weekend pit stop without a Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid can be hectic. But when you get a Prius plug-in hybrid during Red Tag days, you can take advantage of an estimated combined range of up to 962 kilometers and get there with fewer stops. Take advantage of Red Tag days on now. Eligible customers can receive up to $7,500 off, including $2,500 federal rebate on select 2026 Prius plug-in hybrid SE models. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Ontario Toyota dealer today.
Spring called. Club Link's moregolf.ca spring golf sale is on now till Saturday. Shop online at moregolf.ca or swing by one of 4 Club Link locations: Deer Creek in Ajax, Rolling Hills in Stouffville, or Hidden Lake in Burlington from 10 to 6. We're talking 30 to 70% off golf shoes, apparel, clubs, and more. From Titleist, TaylorMade, Adidas, FootJoy, and Nike. So gear up, save big, and get ready for a great season. Visit moregolf.ca to shop for everything for the golfer.
Contractors, restaurant owners, online sellers, beauticians. Thousands of small business owners choose Zensurance. And here's why. Because Zensurance offers business insurance from $19 per month, 100% online. Be protected. Be Zen.
Hey y'all, it's Kelly Clarkson with Wayfair, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. With Wayfair's room of choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.ca or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
My water heater bill went up again.
Go Lime.
They locked me into a contract I never understood.
Go Lime.
I've been renting for 15 years and I own nothing.
Go Lime.
I called to cancel and they hit me with a buyout fee.
Go Lime.
Whatever they're putting you through, there's 2 words that fix it. Go Lime. Up to 50% less on your monthly water heater rental bill. 8 months free before March 31st. GTA homeowners, search golime.com/radio right now. Terms and conditions apply.
Go Lime.
Hey, it's Nick Kiprios.
And I'm Justin Bourne.
We're diving deep into everything happening in Leafland and the biggest stories around the NHL.
Real Kipper and Bourne, weekdays from 4 to 6 on Sportsnet, Sportsnet 590 The Fan, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Brandon Brown is here. You fill out a bracket. Did you join the fan office pool?
You know, I'm kind of taking your approach and been doing it a bit late. I'm joining. I'm going to be setting my bracket a bit later today.
There's nothing wrong with taking your time with the bracket. just don't miss the bracket window.
Yeah.
Especially our office pool is so cheap. Like, I'm always the person that's like, it should be more, it should be more, it should be more. And then you remember that you just want as many people involved as possible. And also, it should be more, it should be more, it should be more. It should also be stated that I don't think I've ever finished in the top 3 of the fan office pool.
Really?
No. I don't think it's happened once. Maybe third place finish somewhere at some point. But I don't think that I've ever finished top 3.
Well, last year, as far as I understand, it was a big 4-way tie or something that finished up.
But that's what I'm saying about the chalk. That's why I want. Listen, there's something to be said for when you're doing these brackets. There's the people who want to be right about everything, and they think that the strategy is 100% go with as much chalk as possible and let the chips fall as they may. Or there is the alternate strategy that I was trying to kind of illustrate a little bit here with Tate, which is take the 2 seed, the sneaky 2 or the 3 seed, have them go all the way, have one nice Cinderella story that you attach yourself to. Because if you pick a Cinderella and you take them to the Sweet 16, that does so much for your point total. Obviously, all these things now, you get more points for the lower that you pick.
Yeah.
So, but you got to zag on the strategies. Because now everyone takes the 9 over the 8 because the juice isn't worth the squeeze, especially if the spread is close. Everybody's on the 5-12 thing. So you got to get a little tricky with the other stuff. You got to take some shots with the other things. And again, to each their own, but I am certainly the type of person who likes to pick one of the 2 finals teams not being the absolute chalky finish. Like, I will not have Duke, Arizona in the finals for me. I will say this. I think Arizona is very, very good, and I also do like Arizona, Pac-12 team. My uncle went there. They're the first basketball love that I ever had in terms of college sports with Mike Bibby's team, Miles Simon's team. But, yeah, you better believe that you got to take some shots, all right? You got to take some. Don't let the book just be the entire determination of your thing. If you're in a huge money pool, obviously that's different. Like if you do this for keeps.
Yeah.
If you're doing brackets for keeps, but if you're in a $20 to $50 bracket, take some shots. You're gonna have the exhilaration. Here's the thing: is like the exhilaration of winning one of your solo upset picks. To me, in a $20 office pool, is worth as much as you winning the few $100s that you're going to win at the very end when you're watching the 2 chalk picks. Like nothing beats that moment where you picked an underdog upset special, and then you get to be the person at the bar that's like, I wish I sports bet and I would have picked this as a, and you're like, yeah. I don't need to hear about the wish me, the wishers when it comes to sports betting. Anyways, Brandon Brown, what did we miss?
Yeah, I mean, you brought it up earlier in the show. I think it's okay to go back to it. The Max Crosby response to his the Nixon trade from the Ravens. We have a couple clips if you want to hear them.
Sure. Do we just have one good one from this? Or are they all split up?
I mean, yeah, they're all split. He went on a super long rant on his show, The Rush.
I want the stuff on his experience with the Ravens.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a clip here. I'll give you an option of 2 here. There's one on the Ravens' injury concerns, which is his account of how they told him about his injury status.
I want the one where he mentions the meetings with the coaches and the ducking of the GMs and that. So let's play that.
We have Crosby on the Ravens GM coach.
Like before I left, I wanted to see the head coach and just chop it up, talk football, talk ball. Like he's a defensive guy. Never met him before like that, so I wanted to chop it up. So I didn't get to meet with him till the end of the day. I didn't get to see the GM at all. I thought I was going to see him when I first got there. I didn't see him for 5 hours.
So he didn't come out the whole time you're testing or doing your physical. Everyone's talking about
never.
The GM never came once out to see you.
And I don't know why. I'm not going to speculate. I didn't see him one time. I even asked the girl. I was like, "Where's Eric at?" Like, I want to say, like, you know what I mean? Like, he just made the trade. Like, I didn't see him for 5 hours.
To me, that's proof, Your Honor. Like, he says he doesn't want to speculate, but what he's putting out there is for you to speculate. And again, I don't think there's going to be any recourse with this, okay? So, and I don't think, like, you put in our email this morning, like, do you think this prevents the Ravens from signing free agents? Like, of course not, because they just signed Trey Hendricks.
Yeah.
Like, we already know that it won't, period. If you offer the most amount of money, you're going to be able to get the player, and Baltimore still is one of the premier organizations in the NFL. They have a winning window right now. They've got Lamar Jackson right now. Their division, by the way, it should be stated, is horrible. Like, if you're projecting if you're projecting next year in terms of division winners, I think you'd be out of your mind to not pick Baltimore in that one. Like Cincinnati, still way too many question marks, the Burrow injury stuff. Rodgers looks like he's coming back to Pittsburgh. And if it isn't Rodgers, like, whew, what is it at this point? Like, is it Kirk Cousins? Like, I don't know what the pivot would even be for them at this point. There's no real sense of optimism around that football team for me. And then the Browns are the Browns, right? Like what? You're going to pin your hopes to Shedeur, the worst Pro Bowler in the history of football, or Deshaun Watson, who really hasn't played a quality football game in, 4 years? Like, no, that ain't happening. So the Ravens, to me, are going back to the playoffs, barring some kind of injury to Lamar Jackson, some kind of like really unforeseen event for that football team. Guys are still going to want to sign there. I don't think that has a repercussion. And I've already said this on the show. Teams are still going to trade with Baltimore. The Raiders are unlikely to trade with Baltimore. So you remove one team out of the mix. But even still, if there isn't like and God, what are you saying to your fan base and what are you saying to your franchise if, let's just say the scenario was, you get to the middle of the season and you decide to sell off some pieces because you're the Raiders and you need to take a step back to take a step forward, blah, 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 blah. You've got a guy on your roster. Let's just say it's a third receiver and you're pivoting off of this guy and the Ravens come calling. They go, we'll give you a 4th-round pick. And then all the other teams are saying, we'll give you a 6th. They're really not going to take the Ravens trade out of spite. Like, I just don't think that ends up happening. To me, though, what makes this a little bit more interesting is I think there will be a little bit of a reputational brand bust to the Ravens because Max Crosby is a super popular player. Like, everybody seems to like this guy. He's a unbelievably respected player across the NFL. He's one of the best players in the NFL. He has a voice in the NFL, not just through the podcast, but he's the kind of guy that when he speaks on different issues, people listen. And so he's a sympathetic figure. And I think that the Ravens have always been a team that everybody not roots for, but that if you're not a Steelers fan, if you're not a Browns fan, if you're not a Bengals fan, they're kind of one of those, oh, the Ravens are cool. They had Ed Reed, right? They had Ray Lewis. They had a fun Super Bowl run with Joe Flacco. They've just had, the Steve Smith era of that team. Like, it's been who doesn't like Derrick Henry and who really doesn't like Lamar Jackson. Like, those guys really rub you the wrong way. You don't think that they're fun. They're not entertaining. They're like high quality pieces on a lot of people's fantasy football teams. Like, they have sort of a pretty high approval rating as a fan base. And to me, this kind of pushes them a little bit more towards I don't like the Ravens. They do shady business. I don't like what they did to Max Crosby. That's the only thing. And I don't know what the tangible impact of that is. I don't know if there's any, really. I think that it makes the sport, if anything, a little bit more compelling because people maybe have bad feelings about the Ravens. What I can't wait for and what I keep saying and what I want so desperately is I don't want Max Crosby to stay on the Vegas Raiders. Like, he's 28 years old. I think the shelf life of him being one of the elite players in the game is over the next 3 seasons. I don't know if the Raiders are going to be in that same window as the Baltimore Ravens in terms of that competitive cycle. I'm desperate for Max Crosby somehow, some way, anyway, to end up on one of the most relevant teams in the AFC that could face the Ravens in a playoff game. Because, you might end up on a team that has them one game on the schedule, and it's a Ravens home game. And it's like, that'll be an interesting regular season storyline. But ultimately, what would matter so much is the potential that could loom for Max Crosby to be facing the Ravens in a playoff game. And my genuine feeling would be, even if the team that has Max Crosby is the underdog, I would be picking the Max Crosby side of things because he will be that's like a legacy game potential for this guy. He hasn't been in big games. He's played for the Raiders' entire career.
Yep.
So for Max Crosby, what I really want is for him to be able to have a legacy game moment against the Baltimore Ravens in a meaningful playoff game. And God, I wish the Buffalo Bills could go out and get him. He'd be so perfect for the Bills. And I know that they can't swing it. There's nothing that they can really do, I think, to make this thing work. They're already extremely capped out. They just used some draft capital to get a receiver. But man, Max Crosby on the Bills would just be just incredible for me. So it's Chiefs or Bills would be the 2 choices that I would have. The secondary tier one to me would be if he could somehow end up on that Broncos defense.
Right.
Because that would be really compelling and interesting to me, especially the Broncos got a little bit more interesting with that trade getting Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
But even still, I hope somehow, some way an AFC team recognizes the the value of this player and the value of this trade, and that we can get a moment out of this, and that it doesn't just become a nothing burger, because that's what it ultimately will be if he stays on the Raiders, and it ends up being one regular season game where a crappy Raiders team gets pumped by the Ravens, and people go like, oh yeah, well, he had a cool sack and he celebrated it hard, but his team lost by 21, so who ultimately cares? Anyways, what's next?
Yeah, Jack Hughes wants his golden goal puck back from the Hockey Hall of Fame, apparently. He was asked about it and basically said, why would they have it? I should get it back. When I look at my career, I don't collect too many things, but that would be one thing that I want. Do you think that it should be up to him, or how do you think this should all play out?
So I don't know if this is accurate because I haven't looked into this super deep, but I've seen some people grumbling that Jack Hughes didn't even ask for the puck in the first place.
Well, it wasn't mentioned here in the article
That's
by
what I mean.
Greg Wyszynski,
But I've seen some of that out there, which if that's the case, then I don't even understand this story whatsoever, why you would have gone public with this before trying to go get the puck for your dad in the first place. What I will say is, as important as that puck is to the Hockey Hall of Fame, as important as it is for the history of the game, because it is, like, you can say whatever you want about that loss, and we can be salty about it as Canadians till the cows come home. That's a huge moment for American hockey history. It's number 2 behind Miracle, period. Nothing else is even in the conversation. Miracle won, then it's this. And in a way, it means more to hockey than if it was a Canadian Olympic gold medal. Like, that would just go up on our trophy case and be like, yep, it's all the same. Like, this is Tom Brady's, 5th Super Bowl, if it's Team Canada that wins, versus this would be the Buffalo Bills getting a Super Bowl, where it means more. It means more to the sport. It just does. You should be able to get the puck. Like, if Jack Hughes really wants that puck, it should be owned by, to me, him. Like, they should be able to get it to him. I get that there's probably something where it's like, this actually technically is owned by IIHF, and they have a relationship, a better one with the NHL and hockey, and that they want to have it in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and that for some people it's a draw. Like, it will be a draw for some American hockey fans. If you're in the city and you're from Wisconsin and you're downtown and that's still a tourist attraction, of course the Hockey Hall of Fame wants to own that puck because they want to be able to advertise that they've got it. And if you're an American hockey fan, you're like, let's go see the puck. I don't know. That's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
I've been to the Hockey Hall of Fame many times. I like seeing that. I like seeing the Golden Looney. I like, like those things matter to sports fans. It might sound trivial. It might sound stupid to some of you, but no, it actually matters to them. I think that Jack Hughes should be able to own the puck. If he wants the puck and he wants to give it to his dad and he scored that goal, he's the author of it. He's the author of that moment. Yeah, I just think like they should be able to come together on this, and he should be able to get what he wants here.
Yeah, I mean, I would think you made the point, like, if he didn't ask for it right away, well, they're pretty busy, I would imagine, right after the game. There's a lot going on. I'm surprised.
No, I'm saying going public, though, being like, I can't believe I don't get the puck. Like, as if you thought that they were going to come to you and be like, Jack, what should we do with the puck? While you're celebrating with Cash Patel and having 100 beers. Like,
yeah,
no.
And that's the point, is I think there should be a conversation at some point, whether it's, the next day, a couple days after. Like, I'm surprised that they don't get, and maybe this is just the way that, like you said, the WIHF or the Hall of Fame, however, this is just kind of the way they operate. But I'm surprised that in big moments where a player is obviously involved as much as they can be, that they're not kind of having some kind of dialogue about what they should do about it.
The only thing I will say about this, where it does get a little tricky and a little complicated, is, all right, if you say Jack Hughes can have the puck because he scored the goal, like if you're Connor Hellebuck, you're like, all right, but were you the most prominent figure in this game? Like, why wouldn't I get the puck? And also, that puck is valuable.
Right.
Like, and I'm not saying Jack Hughes would ever sell it. I'm not saying that it even means something for any of those players to sell it or that they ever would. But at some point, like, what you are carrying is worth significant amount of money. Again, I can only base this off of like when we see baseballs that are home run balls go for millions of dollars, right? How much did the Aaron Judge Toronto ball go for? It was like 1.4 mil?
Something like that, yeah.
And that was just the tying ball. Maybe it went for less. Maybe it went for like 800 grand. But either way, it was like, yeah, Google that. Somebody get that one for me. But either way, I would have to think if somebody wanted the gold medal winning puck for the United States of America, that would come with a pretty weighty price tag. And so by a guy having it, I know this sounds petty. This sounds really petty by me. Like, again, and every NHL player would be like, we'd be happy if Jack had the puck and he scored the goal and that's the tradition and that's all the thing. I'm just saying, like, you do open up the door for a couple of guys to be like, well, I actually would have really wanted that puck. And yeah, I don't know. That's actually just a little bit of something. But either way, I just think he should be able to get it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, he scored the goal. It was his moment. If he wanted to give it to his dad and he felt like that was a really meaningful gift to be able to give to him, I would say they should be able to have it in their house. Whatever.
$1.5 million was Judge's record-setting home run ball. That's what it was.
Yeah, here's the thing. That's a baseball, and it's a record-setting home run, but it wasn't even the record. It was the AL record.
Yeah. No,
I bet the U.S. puck could go for $1.5 million. And, like, that's not nothing money. I know players are rich, but that's not nothing. Anyway, all right, we got to wrap up. We'll see you tomorrow.
You know the saying, April showers bring May flowers? But really, May brings you... I'm home from university. Need extra space? Access Storage. Affordable, convenient, and Canadian storage solutions. Try 4 weeks free. Plus, students save 10% on rental. Details at accessstorage.ca.
Every great goal starts with a great assist. And on the road, that assist is Yokohama. This season, upgrade your